Star Wars was once the legend in video game, film and TV until some questionable moments.
Yes?
Star Wars games had their golden era, but it feels like it's long since in the distance in a distant land. Yeah, we got Star Wars Jedi Survivor series, but I look at the series and it disturbs me. I look at the series and ask, would this be good if it wasn't a Star Wars game?
Well, excuse me, princess.
And no, I don't think it would be, as it's just a Souls clone and sort of a rough around the edges one. I am though a little Jawa for anything with a Star Wars skin and have played and finished both of them, and if they made a third game, would I buy it?
Perhaps.
Welcome back to the Mumbling Gamer. On today's Mumble, we're mumbling about Star Wars Outlaw. Star Wars has gone through a lot of different eras. We have had the Golden Era, and we have had the EA era.
Power to save the one you love.
And we're currently in a new era of Star Wars games, but Ubisoft is making the next one. And with any Ubisoft game, we have to ask the question, should we be worried? It felt like a while the TV show was the only light of the Star Wars universe, and then like blowing up the Death Star, EA's exclusive contract was destroyed, and with it a period of happiness, a parade of excitement, and what will be the next Star Wars game. But none of us knew the second Death Star was being created in the distance. Star Wars Outlaw is a game that looks like it could be a pretty decent one. However, Outlaw may be like a Sith, hiding and waiting to strike while the light is at its weakest.
I have to ask Mumbling Gamer, why are you worried? Why will Star Wars Outlaw bring balance to the Force?
Well, loyal subscriber, like Palpatine, a clone that appears in the third act may be worse than the original. Let's start with the overarching cloud that covers the Star Wars gaming universe. Not to say that Ubisoft is the worst developer in the world, but it feels like whenever I'm enjoying a franchise, just watching their films and enjoying it, I think, this would make a good game. Ubisoft come in storming in and basically force me to buy their cookie cutter game. But I'm a sucker for a good cookie.
Man.
Maybe that is why they're making Star Wars. As for every Death Star, you get a Star Killer base. For every Darth Vader, we got a Kylo Ren. For every first-person game, we get a Far Cry. But still, like Star Wars, I am forced to continue playing these games. Like, literally, they force me.
Put it in your mouth and just eat it.
God, I hate it.
I don't care whether you hate it. You said you do it.
All right.
Eat it.
And yes, I will be pre-ordering Assassin's Creed Japan. Why'd you ask? To me, Ubisoft is like a roguelike of the studios, with them making the same game over and over again.
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
It's like they've taken what the definition of insanity is to heart, as when they get into that loop, they don't really make anything else. If you look at Ubisoft games, they're definitely more copies than newies, as there are some random surprises that Ubisoft have made over the years. Watch Dogs Legion, to their credit, was a surprise. It wasn't that good, but it was a surprise with that new mechanic of being able to recruit any NPC. The Far Cry series is just a copy and copy and copy and copy. Assassin's Creed, Jesus Christ, end that franchise. Skull and Bone was a cheap copy of that one good Assassin's Creed mechanic. And lastly, Immortal Phoenix was a copy of Zelda. It's pretty difficult when you look at Ubisoft games to see really any originality in there. Just some random mechanics sometimes. It feels like Star Wars Outlaw might go down that route. I have a lot of feelings for Star Wars, and it's like Ubisoft has given me the feeling stick. And I'm looking at it, and I'm going to break it. I know a lot of us would be happy with a Star Wars skinned Assassin's Creed with multiple planets. It does though. For Ubisoft, it will have that common trope of generic missions. We can all name the type. Go here, shoot these enemies. Then there's that other thing that's in near all Ubisoft games, that leap of faith. That thing that reveals a certain part of that map. We'll have to climb something, but this time it'll probably be something to do with some techie stuff. There is a classic that has been overused for years, and that worryingly,
I have a bad feeling about
you know we're going to have to go somewhere and press a button, climb something, do some weird tech stuff with that little droid. Do we have a droid? You have a droid, right? We always have a droid. We have some sort of droid. Solely we have a droid. And it will reveal a part of the map. Actually, that part of the game has been a element of a lot of different games, but Ubisoft has seemingly cemented it in every game they've made. But what do you think of that type of mechanic? Do you like the map reveal? I'm currently playing the DLC for Elden Ring, and I do kind of enjoy it there, but for some reason in games like Ubisoft, when you have to go into the radio tower up above into an iconic location on Assassin's Creed, do you still enjoy that type of mechanic, or would you rather it be changed to something else?
Already though, Ubisoft has introduced something that could split up that boring open world gameplay, these being the dogfights, the beloved dogfights of Star Wars. What will hopefully mix up some of the generic gameplay.
There are differences between both EA and Ubisoft though, what could make Outlaw better than the EA era. While you look at the EA Star Wars era, what they did for Star Wars is basically remade and ruined some amazing games. They made some new ones. Jedi Survivor Series, what was a Souls clone.
I will force choke anyone who argues. Not in a weird way.
That little twist that makes me think,
flipping heck, that's decent.
Sometimes it might just be going to Japan, but sometimes it's to add in a loyalty system. Making it feel like the big difference between EA and Ubisoft is
Presentation!
another worrying element of Star Wars Outlaw is, well, the story. It sounds great on scrolling yellow text. Greatest heist of the galaxy. A squirrel. There's a robot doing some stuff. And it's the galaxy war we all know. You play as a kind of solo character and have to deal with the major gangs of the Star Wars franchise. Everything from the Sunny of Philadelphia gang to the Pikes. What I couldn't think of a joke for. So it's just the Pikes. This leading to what looks to be maybe probably not the greatest heist in the galaxy. Not to be compared to the worst heist of the galaxy in that Star Wars film of the new trilogy. Well, I can't remember which one it is. I just look at this and think, how will this translate into gameplay and an overarching story? After watching more gameplay, we kind of know now how we're going to get that Ocean's 11 kind of gang together, and I don't know how it will play out. Why is this screaming simple mission structure to me? Like, go here, go and get information, fetch a quest, fetch a quest, fetch a quest.
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
I am, however, going to give the Wookiee his bone. The story could be great, and the gangster type stuff worked very well in the past.
However, worrying aside, this story is pretty decent, but it seems like it needs something else. Hopefully there will be a surprise in this, what kind of pushes you forward and adds a bit of different spicy elements to it. I don't want it to turn into a Jedi. Oh my god, I don't want it to turn into a Jedi. It was good in that one game that I can't remember. I don't want that to happen. So I don't want to jinx it. Someone touch wood. Find wood. 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 That sounds like wood. Wood. Desk. No, my desk is here. Desk. Wood. That's not real wood.
That's what she said.
I do have a positive thought though. Imagine that, me having a positive thought. The focus on the main gangs of the Star Wars underworld is a great choice for a game, and really hasn't been the main focus of really any kind of Star Wars thing. We've had it hinted in that Clone Wars animated series and Rebels and elements like that, but we've never had that main kind of focus of it through anything really. We've had Boba Fett had glimpses of it, but yeah, that didn't get good until Mandalorian showed up, so a whole thing focused on this could be pretty good. If you have just only consumed the 9 movies and Mando, you still really might not know much about these gangs. The Pikes are very new into the Star Wars ethos, I would say, only being drip fed into the Star Wars lore, but has become more of a focus lately, especially with that Boba Fett TV show. It wasn't the greatest. But I do hope this story in this game, it does mainstream the gangs of the Star Wars universe a bit more, and it kind of has a domino effect of increasing the presence of gangs in different elements of Star Wars, as I think it could be a very interesting element to it. We could have a whole series about these gangs and actually follow people in these gangs, and not have like a Boba Fett or a Mando in them.
I hate with a capital Hoth that every time a female protagonist gets announced and doesn't have the Asa Chong Li and the double D's of Bayonetta, it gets hate online. Even though I am a fan of Bayonetta. What was I talking about?
The female protagonist of this game doesn't need to be that. And for everyone who's complaining about KAAAAAAS couldn't be with someone that looked like KAAAAAAS even with the Force on their side.
You know what kind of man you are.
So personally, I'm not worried about this character. or what she looks like. I mean, I do have my worries, but more because of the Star Wars game characters of the past, and after this I do see a dislike in my future. The past Star Wars characters, I am not a fan of. The very bland Battlefront 2, Kyle Caster, well, he annoys the living hell out of me. He shouts his robot's name 50 times. I just want to heal. And it made me not want to heal, and I played the game on the hardest difficulty. I know that's my own problem, but just don't have him say, BB! BB! Help BB!
Oh, for 5 minutes. Could you not be yourself? For 5 minutes! Help BD!
The actor is great. I think the character could be great in live action setting, but for some reason I kind of hate him in game. If he turns evil in the possible third game, that probably will never happen, but maybe it might change my mind. But currently, I have not liked the Star Wars protagonist since... Do it. Jesus, Star Wars Unleashed? And that is probably a controversial thing because people probably don't like that character as much as I like him compared to the other ones. I will give these game characters the benefit of the doubt though, as all these games were developed by EA, so that could be the reason why we got characters like this.
Oh, crap and a cracker, Ubisoft has technically made worse ones. But not really a worry, it's more of an annoyance. The annoyance being, why can't we play as one of the already established badass characters? No offense to Vass, but we already have one of the best thief/smugglers/rebel? Han freaking Solo, and there's so many beloved kind of villainy thieves and stuff like that that are already in this universe that we could play as. Imagine playing as that guy with the hat, my favourite character. What's his name? I know its name, it's...
When, in the deep bowel of that weird little pit, was the last time we got a game where we played as a main character in the Star Wars universe from a movie or a film? No, they're the same things, from a movie or a TV show. The one time I remember that a game actually brought in a character and you played as the character from the movie was Darth Vader in Force Unleashed for like 5 minutes, and officially Battlefront 2 does not count. It's not much to ask, is it? To have a whole game where I can play as Darth Vader? Maybe? Luke Skywalker? Han Solo? Boba Fett? We did have one Jango Fett. Imagine how many iconic characters you could play in the Star Wars universe.
But to be fair, if we did have a Han Solo character, we wouldn't be able to have that kind of honor system, as I think if we had an already established character, that would be scrapped. So, maybe it is actually a good thing? I do think though at the end of the day this honor system will make or break this game.
The honor system is kind of a weird system, as it feels like the system is connected to all the gangs rather than the actual character's story. Like it doesn't make the character evil, looking like it will affect our reputation with the gangs, and like you make choices and it will affect how you interact with these gangs. But how will this affect you in the heist is the question I have, because we're meant to be going on the biggest heist of the galaxy. So how will these interactions with these gangs affect that? Will these have different effects on how I interact in this biggest heist of the galaxy, or will it just be the exact same, but instead of I'm working with a Pike rather than the Sunny Philadelphia gang or the Jabba the Fun gang, making it feel like the gameplay will be slightly disconnected from this honor system. And it's a weird element for adding an honor system for different gangs when honor system in Star Wars is something like crazily good and something we've saw so many times. Like it obviously is the good between light, the honor system good between light. It's such a simple concept, but for some reason they put it into this game, your reputation of each gang. It's just so mind-boggling to think they've done that. And it does feel like it is that mechanic that they kind of added to Watch Dogs, what makes you want to buy the game. Like you could hire anyone to be part of your gang. And I was like, you can have reputations of all these beloved Star Wars gangs that not many people know, as part from Jabba the Hutt. And maybe Son of Philadelphia. So I am kind of hoping these iconic gangs will push away the worry, and you'll be more like, holy Wookiee crap, they're the Hutts, they're the Pikes, rather than, okay, what gang are we choosing for this one? Well, it's gonna be the Hutts. Yeah. Oh, we get a new gun, do we? New upgrade? New ship? Does it make any difference?
When you look at the gameplay, it does look okay. It looks like it'll be fun for 10-20 minutes, but then when you're slogging through 5 hours, 10 hours, 25 hours, I think it will get very boring and samey like a lot of different Ubisoft games. Maybe that Star Wars skin on an Assassin's Creed game will get you through that. I'm not one of the ones who gets that hands-on experience with the game before release. If you saw my subscriber count, subscribe by the way, and I maybe will do one day. Probably not, but still, I have read all these different articles on these first impressions of this game, and it's pretty rough. I think weirdly I have mixed feelings on if I'm worried about this game or not, as there is so much negativity around it, mainly due to that Ubisoft development and that kind of generic mechanical stuff that comes with it. And Ubisoft have kind of pushed this honor system as a kind of gimmick and not a mechanic that will actually be used, and more of a gimmick marketing tactic. And it feels like Star Wars games have been in the trenches of Hoth for so long that we need a good game to get us out of it. EA have been around it for a while, even though that Star Wars game, Jedi Survivor, was okay, it's still this game just has the taint of the dark side around it. Like it's in there, it's hiding in the gameplay trailers, and it just feels like it won't be that good, and it is kind of making me worry. But there's also, I look at the gameplay and think, well, this is interesting. It's open world. It looks kind of exciting in elements. But will this gameplay transition to me actually enjoying it after playing it for more than an hour? I don't know, but what do you think? What, are you excited for this game? Are you already pre-ordering it? Are you book-timed off to play it? Comment below your thoughts, and remember to subscribe and like for future mumbles, and we also have a Patreon, so if you want to support the channel you can go there, and I will see you on the next mumble.